Hey guys, Eric Sargent, General Manager at Ed Martin Toyota in Noblesville, Indiana. Today we're going to show off the top 3 roof racks for an LC250. Let's get started. Alright, for starters we're going to show off the Westcott designs. Second, we're going to show off the Prinsu Pro. And thirdly, we're going to show off the Toyota OEM accessory roof rack that was standard on a 2024 First Edition and is an accessory for all the other trim levels. Okay, so for starters we're going to talk about the Westcott Designs roof rack. This roof rack has gone through some various iterations over time. One thing that I really like about this particular series of roof rack for an LC250 is the wind fairing and how it slopes backwards a little bit. You'll notice that there's a little bit of a cut right here in the metal as we kind of transition back to the actual roof. This actually does help with noise and probably fuel economy as well, but I can speak to the noise because I've driven an LC250 for a couple thousand miles now, and it's actually much quieter than the factory one. Another thing that I like about this particular roof rack is it does have a really nice transition piece here, this little noise reduction rubber piece. On other brands, it's more of a plasticized piece. This is actually more of a rubber piece, and I really like this as a small detail. One thing that I will mention that I think that maybe they can improve upon is getting another wind fairing for a 40-inch light bar. This particular roof rack, as it sits in October 2024 when we're recording this, you have this wind fairing for no light bars, and then if you want to have a light bar, the only other fairing that they offer is for 10 Rigid Industries 360 lights, which are 4-inch. That's a whole lot of wiring. That'd be a couple 10-gauge wires that you have to bring up to for power and ground, plus the trigger wires. And that's assuming that they're all on or off at the same time. So I don't know that this is going to be your best option if you're looking for a light bar, unless you want to go all in and spend a couple $1,000s on the 10 circles and then get that wired. That's a whole other conversation that we can have. But all in all, I really love the front of this. So kind of transitioning off to the side, this is the lowest profile roof rack on the market, and I can say that, and I'll describe why I say that here in a minute. I haven't compared them all, but I can still confidently say that because there's no way that this could be actually more hugging to the vehicle as we kind of transition to the back. It does come with stainless steel block hardware, which is great. Some previous versions of just modular roof racks in general came with kind of crappy black zinc hardware. This hardware will never rust. They're all using the same 2x1 80/20 bars on the top. But another cool thing about this particular roof rack too is you do have 9 of those 80/20 crossmember bars here. Okay, so one more quick little measurement that we'll take just to kind of compare the rigidity and the beefiness of these roof racks is the actual thickness of the side rails. Obviously the cross members we already mentioned were the same, so we're going to go ahead and put it in inches. We'll do it in millimeters too. So it's about 0.2 inches, so 1/5, and in millimeters it's about 5 millimeters thick. So that will be just that'll just be kind of a benchmark in comparison to the Prinsu. Now that we're on top of the car, I'm going to go ahead and kind of just give you my overall impression of the top of this roof rack. In terms of function, you have a total of 9 additional crossmember bars. Technically, you could say there's a 10th one on the far end. We can talk about that here in a moment. But in terms of just horizontally laid out, completely flat crossmember bars, you are looking at 9, which is the same amount that the Prinsu offers. It's the same 80/20 1x2-inch bar that you're going to see pretty much on any modular roof rack from any brand. However, one major downfall of this particular roof rack is that the cross members don't have any cutouts for your bolt heads or your nuts. So if you were to pre-think that out, you could buy the right T-nuts and the right bolts and kind of put them in there before your installation, and it would not be an issue. However, if you're doing a project on the weekend and you really need to kind of just get it done, you are adding a lot of time by removing the bolts on the sides, as well as maybe having an extra person to kind of help you instead of just dropping in that bolt head. So I think that's one area that the Prinsu is going to be a little bit better on, but all in all, they're the same exact material other than that particular function. So again, you have 9 total. This particular roof rack and the Prinsu is the same way. The first gen wasn't so much, but the second Pro version is. But you do have these steel mounting points right here. So it's a no drill option, so you're not actually drilling into the vehicle, but when you are dealing with the threaded roof rack holes, you always want to make sure that you get your bolt threaded in there properly. Use excess silicone or Permatex #2 or whatever kind of RTV that you want to use. We use just silicone, but you want to make sure that you use excessive silicone, make sure that you're threaded in there properly, and then make sure that your torque is set to the proper pound-inch so that you are not over-torquing these bolts, because water will always get in if you miss thread or if you don't have it sealed properly. So that's really the one tip on any roof rack installation, not necessarily just this one. But then once it's all installed and it's cured, then we put another layer of silicone around the bolts and around again, just to make sure that we're extra tight. So all in all, these little steel mounting brackets are here for a reason, and that's because steel is stronger than aluminum. Obviously this whole thing is aluminum, but the steel mounting brackets give it additional stress points where you can put additional pressure on here. I don't think this roof rack or the Prinsu and the Toyota one is, but I don't think that they're actually rated at the maximum load for this. I'm guessing it's over 300 pounds, but I don't think that I've seen that in the literature. If you guys know, please put it in the comments below. But all in all, one of the big highlights of this roof rack, besides just being low and being quiet, is it doesn't add any additional height to the vehicle. And so the biggest question that I always get when I'm building a truck or putting tires on a lift or a roof rack on a car is, how tall is it going to be? Because at the end of the day, it's got to fit in your garage. So one of the first things that we always do is we measure how much height is this adding to the roof rack. So what we typically do is we'll measure we'll measure from the highest point, and then we'll measure from the bottom of the top of the shark fin antenna, because the shark fin antenna is always the highest point in the vehicle. So in this case, I actually was just going to get a tool out to measure exactly how many millimeters that is, but unfortunately the gap is so thin I actually can't measure it with my tool. So it looks to me like it's about maybe 1 or 2 credit cards. If I'm moving this level here and here, you'll notice that it's not infringing on that, but it is very, very, very close. So I don't think that Westcott could have done any better of a job of making it hug the roof anymore. So all in all, this is the Westcott roof rack, and I will actually throw in one more point too, and that is that this 10th cross member bar that goes in the rear. On the other ones that I've seen so far, all of the cross member bars are horizontal. It does have this vertical one. As you'll notice, this vertical one is slightly cockeyed, and I think that they did that just so they can get that additional height over the shark fin. You'll notice that the 80/20 bar, the top of it, you'll notice that there is a little bit of a angle here. So if I lay that perfectly flat on the 80/20 bar, you can see that the angle of the level is at a small angle. I'm not sure what degrees that is, but it doesn't matter so much. But one cool thing is that because you have this vertically set, you have 2 access panels right here, as opposed to if it was vertical, you just have the one. So if you did want to add something that maybe was a little more heavy, other than just like a light, but I mean, I'm not sure what you want to add, but you do have the ability to have 2 of these T-slots here, which is kind of cool. I think it looks kind of cool, but also I think that you could, somebody who was creative with additional modifications, with maybe like a heavy 40-inch light bar or something, this would be a better option than just having a single T-slot. Okay, so moving on to the Prinsu roof rack. This one you can see does have a 40-inch light bar fairing cutout. Of course, they make it without the light bar cutout. Knowing that if you're just trying to get the biggest bang for the buck in terms of lighting, as I mentioned on the Westcott, you're going to have to spend a couple $1,000s and do some extensive wiring to get all 10 of those lights on there. So this right here, you can get an inexpensive high-end rigid or Baja light bar for in the sub $1,000 range. With that said, that would probably be a little bit easier to wire and a little bit more efficient in terms of budget. This one will have a 40-inch light bar, but as of right now it doesn't. That's one of the next modifications that we're doing on this truck. You can get it without the light bar cutout. I mentioned on the Westcott too, this little transition piece here. There is a noise reduction piece here that's rubber, and then there is this pinch plastic piece right here as well. This is the Prinsu Pro roof rack. So this is, we're in 2024 right now. There was a first generation that had the metal was actually all aluminum, and then it was kind of bent in, and then it kind of sat and then connected to the car, so that it eliminated an extra step because the rail and the mount was the same. They've converted to more of the Westcott style where you have that steel mounting plate, and then you mount the aluminum side rail to that. This one thing that kind of stands out significantly on this particular roof rack is a couple things. One, it is 2 pieces instead of just 1 rail. They say on the website that you get it's more rigid because there's this extra break here and it's 2 pieces. Probably true. Also, this roof rack is significantly thicker in terms of the actual side piece here. So if you take a look at the back thickness of the actual of the rail, I'm going to go ahead and measure it. I think the Westcott one was right around 5 millimeters, so I'm going to go ahead and measure this, and it is about 8 millimeters, so it's significantly thicker. Now you'll notice it does kind of go back up to a 5 millimeter piece right here, but that is how that works. Now, just looking at the attention to detail on this, you'll notice that I'm not sure if they use a laser or what to cut this, but it certainly isn't a water jet because it is kind of a really sloppy cut there. And I'm not sure why that attention to detail was missed. It could just be this particular one, but all in all, I think that's kind of a rough cut. It doesn't look that great. You'll notice too over here that there is some sloppy cuts right here on these two metal pieces. So again, this is kind of a fairly new product, and I'm sure that it's just a one-off, but all in all, just something to notice. Okay, so now that we're on top of the vehicle, I'm going to go ahead and point out a couple pros and cons. First of all, pro. I really love their 80/20 crossbars. Although they're the exact same ones as the Westcott one, you'll notice that there are a total of 6 drop-in points. So if you're doing a project on your own and you wanted to kind of make it happen quick, you can just drop in the bolt head or the nut and slide it in and kind of go ahead and move on with your day, as opposed to removing these and sliding it in from the end. Major bonus points, in my opinion, for that particular thing. Again, black anodized aluminum, super strong. The height of this vehicle is higher than the Westcott one. And you'll notice here on the clip we did a moment ago, it was about the amount of a credit card in terms of the actual gap right here from the bottom of the level to the top of that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in an instrument to measure that gap. And it is just about 10 millimeters, if you can see that. So that gap is pretty small, but all in all, if you are, depending on your lift, depending on your tire situation, that could be fairly critical, 10 millimeters, if you're worrying about putting it in your garage. Although this, as it sits, would probably fit in anyone's garage. If you're adding max tracks and you're adding some, a roto packs or something like that, just keep in mind that if you need that extra 10 millimeters, the Westcott's going to probably be a better option. However, I will throw in one additional, although it is a 10 millimeter difference from the shark fin to the top of the crossbar, we actually technically need to measure this additional piece where it bends over on the side, because that actually is above the crossbar. So we'll go ahead and measure that. And that is 4.9 millimeters, so 5 millimeters. So really you're 15 millimeters higher on this roof rack than you are on the Westcott one. Again, may not matter to you, but just kind of as a benchmark to measure from. Just like the Westcott, you got your steel mounting points here and here, which is great. Definitely will add to the overall weight capacity, although that's not mentioned. It is something that you would be cognizant about if you're using a super heavy load like a rooftop tent or something like that. So one nice thing about the Prinsu being a little bit thicker back here is that anyone who's going to be using a 270-degree awning, this is probably going to support more core weight right here at this pivot point as the awning stretches around. All right, so we're on top of the first edition. This is the Toyota OEM roof rack. This is in the catalog for any Land Cruiser series, whether it's 1958 or Land Cruiser edition. Standard on a first edition, which is discontinued for 2025 model year. We have basically a roof rack that's, I would say, a 3/4 roof rack. It starts just a little bit behind the moonroof, has a little bit of a cutout in the wind fairing. Wind fairing does not give you the ability to add any kind of lighting option without modifying it. You have a total of 4 cross members. A couple things that you'd want to know on this is the first thing is really the weight capacity. Toyota does publish the weight capacity on this roof rack, and it's on a sticker, which is located right here on the driver's side. So it's 165 pounds total, which is not that much weight. I don't know very many, if any, rooftop tents that would actually be under 165 pounds. And of course, throwing additional U on top of it would add more. All in all, it is a nice wide cross member. They are aluminum. You'll notice that there is a nice big opening here. So if you wanted to put a bolt in, or a nut, you could just slide it right in and you have easy access to mount pretty much anything you want. Another thing that kind of stands out is this plastic fairing that covers over the shark fin antenna. The number one concern that I had with this particular fairing is it going to block the navigation and the satellite radio and the connected service telematics system because it's covered up? And the answer is no, it does not. This is actually not aluminum. This is a piece of plastic. It does have some rigid, like a diamond-shaped pattern on the top of it. I'm not sure if that's just for design. I'm guessing being on the roof rack, it's not for design. It probably has something to do with bouncing off the signals that come in it or out of it. But all in all, it doesn't disrupt any function of this particular roof rack at all. However, it does disrupt or it does add additional height to this vehicle. Because just adding a level to it and measuring down from the shark fin antenna isn't possible, because this roof rack or this trim piece kind of goes up higher. So we're going to have to measure this in a different way. We'll go ahead and do that right now so you have a benchmark for overall height on all three roof racks. So what we're going to do to measure the amount of height of the roof rack over the shark fin antenna on the OEM roof rack is we're going to take the Westcott as the benchmark. And the reason we can do that is because it sets almost exactly even to the cross members. As you can see, it's about a credit card width from the actual shark fin antenna. So what we're going to do here is we're going to measure from the very back of the roof to the bottom of the level, and it's going to be approximately 3 1/4 inch from that exact point. So let's go to the first edition, and let's make the exact same measurement and subtract the two differences. Okay, so now we're going to take the exact same measurement from the back of the roof to the bottom of the level, and it's going to be 4.75 inches. And so what we'll do is we'll take the 4.75 inches minus the 3.25 inches. So we have our 1.5 inches, which is 38 millimeters. And then, so we are approximately 38 millimeters higher, than the Westcott Designs roof rack. And then the Prinsu roof rack was 15 millimeters higher than the Westcott roof rack. So all in all, this is about 20 millimeters higher than the Prinsu. The Prinsu is about 15 millimeters higher than the Land Cruiser with the Westcott roof rack. So all in all, we're looking at about a 35 to 38 millimeter difference between the lowest to the highest. Thank you so much for watching our comparison of the 3 most popular roof racks for a 250 series Land Cruiser. Please let us know which one you like the best. Let us know if we missed something, and let us know which one you own. If you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, please ask in the comments below. Again, please hit thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for future Land Cruiser content.